Very warm welcome. It's Jim from Avstar. I do admittedly wear rose-coloured spectacles sometimes because I've just got a kangaroo thought process, which means it jumps from one thing to the next, which is probably not the best if you're trying to focus on one thing. But I think there's something here which is worth talking about with you guys watching Russell Brand's video. We've got the Rumble logo there, and then we've got the Jolly Roger, which is a pirate flag. Or you could say, okay, if we're going to be conspiracy theorists, if you're going to rumble with other countries, then you know you can expect death. Yeah. And there's also a Masonic symbol there as well, which is the Jolly Roger, you know, and I wouldn't be surprised if we could find 555 in this video as well, in that series. And then we've got the rocket launching off, and then over there on the bottom right we have the astronaut in the spacesuit. I don't know what to think about that. It might be nothing, and maybe you could think of what the relevance all these things linking up are. And then we got the 1775, and that's important because that's the time of the revolution between Britain and America, the Great Revolution, and we know Russell Brand supports that. And the reason why I'm bringing these things to you is because, you know, during the COVID lockdown, did you not notice everybody that was being interviewed, you know, doctors, surgeons, politicians, they all had a bookcase behind them. And I was going out with a girlfriend at the time, and she said, oh, you should have a bookcase behind you when you're doing your videos. And I thought, well, what is the mentality behind that? And the mentality behind that is that, you know, you're trying to demonstrate from the foreground or the background that you're intelligent, that you're well read, well reversed in, you know, knowledge, and therefore that you should be a figure that should be listened to. And, you know, I don't think I've ever done a video with a bookcase behind me. In fact, I know I've done a couple of videos, you know, slating people for that very fact, because they was all behaving in the exact same manner like they was being dropped off a production line. And you know, I'm intrigued why Russell Brand has chosen these things to be in his foreground while he's talking about what he is. He's talking about Russia just shocked the world with this move, and the US is in real trouble. We know the US is in real trouble. You know what? You get down to grassroots of real, genuine human beings in America. You know what the problem is? They're being paid less than £15 or $15 an hour, and I think that's a real shame when we hear regularly that people in America can't live on $150,000 a year. Think about that. You know, the average home now, and it's the same in the UK, is becoming like 250,000, £250,000. How the hell can you achieve, you know, a fulfillment on that mortgage when there is no such thing anymore as a job for life? And there will never be that thing ever mentioned again, because we've got artificial intelligence now. So, you know, I'm just sharing some of my thoughts with you guys, and I know I come from, you know, I don't think on the same level as a lot of other people. I know that, and I've known that for a long time, long time. I don't think on the same level of other people, and I pay attention to what's going around me. And when I look at, you know, the things that's going on in the background of Russell Brand's video, I'm wondering why he's put those things in the foreground. Not what he's talking about. I'm just wondering why he chose those things to put in the foreground. And I'm going to show you what the relevance is of that date on that coffee that he's promoting at the moment. And there it is. Here are some of the historic facts about 1775 relate to the American Revolution, battles of Lexington and Concord. On April 19, 1775, the military engaged in the American Revolution took place, known as the battles of Lexington and Concord. This event is famous for the shot heard around the world and marked the beginning of the War of the Battles, where politically disastrous for Britain and convinced many Americans to support the cause for independence. So, you know, when I look at this video and I see that there, 1775, on that coffee that he promotes, I can't help being slightly a conspiracy theorist in thinking that maybe he's trying to promote a revolution. You know, the rumble and the there on the bottom left, the rumble and the Jolly Roger, or the skull and crossbones, which is, I think, most of us would associate that with death. You know, that's a dead person. There's no flesh left on it. There's the bones and the skull. And that's what happens when you get in a rumble with other countries. And then we've got the you know, above that, we've got that rocket lifting off. You know, I see this as all a influence to persuade people to think in a certain way, in that similar way then when we was looking at COVID and all those professionals with the bookcases behind them. They was trying to convince us that, you know, the bookcases meant that they read all those books, and I dare say they didn't, but yet they were there, and they were putting them there for that reason, to, you know, for the rest of us into believing that, you know, that was the right thing to do. And I think, you know, I do like Russell Brand, that's the thing, I do like him, but, you know, I'm just wondering what the metaphor of those things in the background are. And yes, I have seen the video of Oppenheimer Ranch, and he's a nobody on the internet, just like me. I'm a nobody, but, you know, he's criticising me for, you know, my credentials, which I have showed you guys. He's criticising me for, you know, the equipment that I've got, which I've showed you guys, and yet he has showed you nothing. And yet I know he is a convicted felon, and that's why he cannot carry a pistol on his side, because he is a convicted felon. And he said, you know what, he accused me of the same thing, and is the laughing matter of this, he said that I am being hunted down by the British police. That is hilarious. Oh my God. Most people know where I live because of a certain person broadcasting that. And you know what, if the police wanted to find me, I guarantee you they would, within the flick of a finger, and they would. So it's just hilarious that he's gone to that level, and I suppose he's blaming me for the downturn in his business, you know, and the lack of sales on his website. And that's not nothing to do with me. That, David Murillo, is to do with something that you may be better reversed in and paying more attention to, the cost of living crisis in the United States, because it's hitting people very hard. Millions of people are foreclosing on the loans to the banks for the houses, and they are unfortunately ending up in Tent City. That's the real reason why your business is on the downturn. And if you really want to go to the extreme of why that's happening, because it's happening here in the UK as well, it's happening because we've got people that are in positions in government that are just thinking for themselves, and that they're writing policies that are meaningless, and they're also signing off on billions of pounds being exported out of the country. And of course, we've got another crisis here, just as you have in the United States, which is the office redundancy. Nobody's renting office space. COVID-19 has fucked up the world big time. I'm sorry for using language, but it has destroyed the world. And you can't, after such a collapse, put things back on the road so quick, because it's a big collapse. What happened, we're not talking anything like what happened in 2008 with the financial collapse. We're talking what COVID done, and we know how that all started. We know what's all behind that, but it has destroyed the livelihoods of millions of people in this world to this date. And I've heard some horrendous stories, which I would gladly share with you on another time, but I don't think that we will today. But I've heard horrible, horrific stories of how that destroyed the livelihoods of people, and it is still doing it today. And that's why we've got offices that are no longer being rented out, because they sent them all home to work from home, and now realised it was profitable to do that, and they could get a good return on the stocks and share markets of the bigger companies, because they were no longer forking out for rent and rates on these premises and showing the shareholders a better dividend for their support. It's sad all round, but the only people that are profiting right now are the very, very rich, and the middle class have been stomped down into the dirt. We're very all I think that we can all say that we're proud, and that we don't want to live in such a deteriorating state of the economy, but we've got no choice, sadly. I've had to make some massive cutbacks to my lifestyle, and they've really hurt. And I did get in a little state of depression over that, but you suck it up, don't you? You've got to do what you've got to do, and you've got to keep marching on forward. That's the only way. And don't give up, never give up. And I don't think that there is any shame in failing, in never wanting to give up, because you never accepted the fact that you would ever give up. And even when you find yourself in devastating conditions, you still don't give up. And I think that's the attitude. If I could just pass something over to you, from my soul to yours, it would be that: don't ever give up. The fight always goes on until the fat lady sings. But I just thought it was strange, that why Russell Brand chose these things to be in his backdrop. And I think they do have a little bit of resemblance. There's even that green juice there I could bring into, the theme of green policies, rumble, getting in a rumble with other countries. You've got the Jolly Roger, which is a symbol of death. You've got the blast off. You've got 1775, which is the exact date of the revolution. And then I don't know what that spaceman is all about. Maybe that's just the odd thing. I don't know. I do like Russell Brand. I watch him most days, just because I would rather watch Russell Brand, believe it or not, who is a comedian, than I would the mainstream media. And that says everything, doesn't it? I would rather watch a comedian than I would a serious reporter on mainstream, BBC, CNN, the BBC, or any of these mainstream media news outlets, because we know what the game is. They're just pushing propaganda like nobody's business, and I think we're all waking up to it now. We're all aware of what they're doing, just like we're all aware of why they ostracize the United Kingdom for green policies. And we see MI5 paid shills super gluing their fingers to the tarmac and blocking public traffic, and we know they do it because they're raising $1 trillion a year out of it through the United Nations. And we know they do it because they have completely blanketed all the other times in our recent 7,000 years where the temperature has been a lot higher than what it is right now. Yet they continue with the CO2 lies because it's another stealth tax. They're taxing you 40% in this country, and they're taxing you also on CO2. They want you to buy these exotic, expensive cars. And I like Elon Musk, but you know what? Your cars aren't necessary. We don't need electric cars. We don't need your batteries that will fail eventually within a short space of time. Your batteries will never outlast a Perkins diesel engine. Let's get it straight. Or a Detroit or whatever. It will never outlast it. It's ridiculous. It's unsustainable. If you want to talk about sustainability, right? If you really want to talk about sustainability, then talk about the fact of a replacement motor that can drop on a gearbox and a battery pack that can go in an average car, which can be converted, because then we don't have to manufacture the old car. Would you agree with me? That's sustainability. That is sustainability. That's where we should be going. But their version of sustainability is replacing the whole car, which produces more carbon. If that's the big problem they're trying to resolve, then don't do that. Do what I said. Just replace the motor, put a battery pack in there, drop it on a gearbox, get an adapter that will fit from the engine, the motor to the gearbox that's already there, and it's done and dusted. But they won't do that. They want to replace the whole car. And these cars, just like everything else in our lives now, like the mobile phones that don't last more than 3 years, when you buy them brand new and you pay £1,000 for them, just like everything else in our lives, like the washing machines, the dishwashers, the fridge freezers, nothing lasts like it used to. So how have we managed to get in reverse at this point? How have we managed to go backwards? You got one of them old candy fridge freezers. Trust me, it's still ticking away like a wristwatch you can wind up whenever you want, and it'll still work tomorrow. You buy one of these newer models like a Hot Point or something like that, you know what, 2 years is your lifespan. As soon as the warranty runs out, the thing packs up. Is that by any mistake? We've seen this in industry. We've seen companies become popular because of the reliability and then switch it to unreliability so that people buy more of them. That's where we are right now. And we've got worse things to think about as well. I know I'm having a bit of a rant. And you know what? The only reason I'm talking about these things with you guys is because I care. I think you agree with me on a lot of these issues I'm talking about. Maybe some of them you won't. Maybe you like Mark Morella and you won't agree with me on that. But do you think if the British police were looking for me tonight, they wouldn't find me? You know what? I'm still in the same address I've been in for the last nearly 8 years. That's how ridiculous his argument has got now. But anyhow, he's not important, and neither is getting into arguments and debates with him. You know, I could slate him for lots of things. I'd just say to him, you know, if you're genuine, show everybody, like I did, your credentials. Show them your equipment. Don't show them this rusty little nasty shed where you're growing a couple of blades of grass and the occasional onion, you know, and a bit of asparagus and whatever. You know, show them everything. People just don't understand something. You know, that when a genuine person comes about that genuinely isn't money motivated, and I think that's a really important thing, not to be money motivated. I think it's important to support yourself, you know, if that means working or whatever you have to do, you know, to support your family, that's fine. But, you know, when you are solely out for money and you've got to resort to, you know, shops, merchandise and all the other bullshit like mugs, hoodies and things that people don't need, that you pressurise people to want when they don't need it, like even Russell Brand with his 1775 coffee. And I have got a Rumble account, by the way, but you know, I'm not subsidised by Rumble, so I don't have to promote them. You know, why would Rumble all of a sudden produce a coffee that was better than any other coffee on the market? And I think you know the answer to that. It doesn't really matter anyhow. I think what matters is that we understand what's happening with our Earth, because, you know, I am a scientist and I am very passionate about what I talk about, and I've always come clean and you know showed everybody where I stand. And I think what's important right now is that we resolve some form of peace around this world, because I can see it escalating and I worry about that. I do. Sleep in my bed worrying about that. You know, that any minute we could find ourselves waking up to the news that, you know, a major city has been targeted by a foreign nation because, you know, they have saw us as aggressors and had to resort to that point. And I don't want that. You know, we have to live alongside nature, is the way I see it. You know, that's the way I really see it. You know, nature is the formidable force in this world. And I know people think, oh, well, weather manipulation and we can make it rain. Yes, we can. That's absolutely. But not on the scale where it causes floods like what we're seeing around the world. That's nature. And you have to give it credit for that ability. Nature is the most incredible force in this universe. And it extends well beyond our planet. You know what? Nature is controlling the movement of the planets right now in our solar system, and it's controlling the movement of the galaxies outside our galaxy. And there are millions and millions of stars in our galaxy that possibly, maybe, could contain and support a world like our own. And maybe there are even people driving round, and you would be surprised and shocked if I said this, Chevrolets, Mustangs and you know, RS 500 Cosworths for the boys of the 80s. I know you're going to understand that, but yeah, don't be surprised if that's the case, because you know what, we've got rainbow trout in rivers that run through fresh waters in the UK, and you will also find the same species in France and in other countries. So don't be surprised if you find a world like ours in another galaxy or another part of our galaxy, you know, operating the same as what we do, because nature repeats itself. And nature is a vast thing, but nature still repeats itself. That's been my life learning and understanding of it. And you know what, on that note, guys, I'm going to just say one thing. You know what, I do genuinely love you guys, and you know what, I am not here to cause any harm, you know, or anything like that. I'm here to support, and that's why, you know, the other day I brought back the magnetic lattice pole position. You know, it costs me money. It costs me a lot of money to run that website, and time and everything else. But you know what, just I felt bad, and I wanted to bring it back to you guys, and that's why I did. On that note, you can listen to what other people say, but you know what, let's do something what the Bible says: judge them by their works. You know, refine the gold, and you'll find out who is genuine and who is not. That's all I've got to say. So link down there. You want to help support us? You know what, I am amazed at the amount of people that supported us after the last video, after putting back the pole shift news latest position on YouTube. I was surprised at the amount of people that supported me. You know what, you support me, I'll support you. It's simple as that. And we all know how that works, don't we, in our families. So that's all I'm going to say. Link down there in the description. As always, you take care of your loved ones. Bye for now.